Hey, what's up, everybody? Pat here, great for recovering alcoholic and addict, just like every day, guys. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave the video a like, drop me a comment, and by all means, share it with somebody who might get something out of it. And that, we'll get into it. Today, guys, we're going to go back to the Just for Today NA meditation. I like this one, and it's titled First Things First. So, first things first. We apply effort to our most obvious problems and let go of the rest. We do the job at hand, and as we progress, new opportunities for improvement present themselves. It's been said that recovery is simple. All we have to do is change everything, right? That can seem like a pretty tall order, especially when we first arrive in recovery. After all, not many of us showed up at our first meeting because our lives were in great shape. On the contrary, a great many of us came to recovery in the midst of the worst crisis of our lives. We needed help and quick. The enormity of the change required in our lives can be paralyzing. We know we can't take care of all that needs to be done, not all at once. So how do we start? Chances are we've already started. We've done the first most obvious things that need to be done. We've stopped using drugs and started the recovery process. So what do we do next? Pretty much the same thing, just more of it. From where we are, we do what we can, we walk the path of recovery by picking up our feet and taking the step that is right in front of us. Only when that's been accomplished must we concern ourselves with what is next. Slowly but surely, we find ourselves making progress down the path, visibly drawing closer each day to becoming the kind of person we want to be. And the affirmation is, just for today, I will walk the path of my recovery by taking the step right in front of me. And guys, that's something I absolutely did. And so there's a reason I love doing these Just for Today and meditation. I think they're a great source of lessons and reminders for all of us. Particularly early, certainly for myself, in the early days of my recovery, I was so incredibly overwhelmed that it would literally bring me to tears. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I was terrified to go back to work. I was afraid to talk to my landlord. I felt so overwhelmed by the mountain of things that I needed to accomplish in life, and I honestly didn't know how to do it. That's where surrender comes in. I don't want to talk about it here, but I'm going to throw it in because something's hugely important. Excuse me. That's why I recommend prayer and meditation in whatever form works for you. Excuse me, allergists say. So that's where I found, I just would stop and I would literally, when I was having a hard time, I would stop and just get through the minute, get through the second, right? Just do whatever I had to do to make sure I didn't find myself ready to use drugs, not let myself get overwhelmed. And when I didn't know what to do, I would stop and I would pray and I would meditate. And then lo and behold, the next step would be dropped in my lap. Like literally, I was praying and meditating about learning, getting deeper into my faith, and the next day somebody offers me a book on scientific prayer, which was huge, guys. That book was fantastic. I passed it along to somebody else from recovery, and when I get home, I bought myself a copy of the book, and I'll find it one of these days and list it in. It's a great book. So then I was in recovery, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get out of here, and like I know I can't go to a halfway house. I have my apartment. At that point, I still had the job, and I knew I needed help. So when they started talking about first what I did was I found a primary care physician and got myself medically assisted treatment. So boom, now I had Suboxone. I got the Sublocade so that I would have an opiate blocker in my system in case I was weak. And I slipped, so I felt very good about that, right? But that was the next step. And then as I got comfortable taking my Suboxone, started doing more, I was offered an IOP. And again, in the past when I heard IOP, which stands for Intensive Outpatient Programming, yeah, and Intensive Outpatient Treatment, IOPT. And I said, you know what? That's what I need. Like, I know I can't get out of here and just be left to my own devices. I'm not ready for that yet. So I jumped on IOPT. And I get out. I went right to my doctor's office, got my Suboxone so I could get Sublocade a week later. And then the day after that, and I told my boss at that point, I said, listen, I'm not coming back to work till next week because I got to go get signed up for my outpatient clinic. So I went and I did that, and that's all I did, guys. I didn't worry about I didn't stress what I was going to do about work. I didn't stress how I was going to make money, how I was going to do this, how I was going to do that. I worried about the very next step in front of me. And by doing so, I've continued to do that. And here we are 7 months later. I got the rent help early on. So I got caught up with my landlord, and he was so happy with me that he let me use the truck. And then, as he saw I was staying clean and I was starting to work for myself, he sold me the truck, right? And then I opened the business. And then I kept doing good. I started my YouTube channel, and I impressed the people at Riverside Recovery on that, and they got me the scholarship to Harvard University. And one by one, I just took one job at a time. Now, the jobs I was doing were, $100, $200, $500. Now they're $1,500, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000. Like, everything has been this nice, steady progression, because that's all I've worried about. I've asked God repeatedly, God, I will give you my full faith, and I have, guys. That's one thing I have fully surrendered, and it's been the most amazing thing, because it's allowed me to shed my burden, shed my anxiety, shed my insecurities, and just slowly start building some confidence, because I was mentally in shambles when I first came into recovery. I love the position I'm at now, and I know that I'm not, at the top of the hill, which is even better, because that means I've got a long way to go. I'm going to continue progressing, because I continue to just take the next right step. And as I've learned and as I've gotten stronger, it's become much easier for me to continue doing so. In the beginning, I've talked about this before, I literally had to go opposite my instinct on everything, because my instincts were just completely sideways at that point, and I was just, I was addled with drugs, and I was a shell of who I am now, and I knew that everything I was doing was wrong, and my instincts were wrong, my thinking was wrong, my self-talk was wrong. I had no self-care program. So those are the things that I noticed, and I talked about to my higher power, whom I choose to call God. I just spoke with him in prayer, and I meditated on these things, and one by one, these things have just been dropping in my lap. Every time there's something that I need, and something I need to focus on, I just do it by one step at a time. I don't allow myself to get overwhelmed. And the most important reason for that is, guys, is being overwhelmed causes stress. Stress does you no good. No amount of anxiety will fix yesterday. No amount of remorse will fix yesterday. No amount of anxiety will change tomorrow. But the littlest bit of gratitude for making good decisions changes your present. And that's all you got to worry about, guys. Worry about what you're doing right now, literally. If you know the steps you need to take, them by all means. And then what you do is you take the most important, the biggest one. Getting off the drugs, getting out of people, places, and things where people are using drugs, removing yourself from those situations, getting out of toxic situations, getting into therapy, like one at a time, right? And that's what I've done. Is I started getting comfortable with my doctors, and then Riverside. It started off with just my recovery advisor, and then as I got a little stabilized, and I started working with a therapist. And early on, my therapist and I just talked about recovery. And now that I've been making it through that, now I'm stepping up and working on the past traumas. But I did it one step at a time, because it keeps us from getting overwhelmed. When we allow ourselves to get overwhelmed, guys, and again, I understand how difficult that can be, which is why it's so important to be very, very intentional about not allowing too much on your plate. And you've got to be able to tell people, hey, and I did. Like, I remember the first phone call I got out of rehab, I walked out, and my former boss called me. At the time, he was still my boss. And he was, oh, you almost put me out of business. I need you back. Like, he was trying to manipulate me. And I immediately shut him down, because I understood one of my problems is I let people walk all over me. So that's something that came to me through prayer and meditation. I said, okay, that has to stop. Because if I allow people to manipulate me, they're going to run me ragged and get everything they can out of me until I can't take it anymore and I start to use drugs again. So I realized that my self-respect was a big problem. So I worked on that, and I made sure it was a test. And I was tested the second I walked out. And I shut him right down, and I said, listen, if that's going to be a problem, I won't come back to work. If I caused you too much, if I'm not worth your time, then why are you calling me the second I'm walking out of rehab? Oh, no, I just need you back. Well, things got to change. And he started backpedaling immediately. Well, then after the week, and I got after I was home for a week, I got into my recovery, got all my things in place, my doctors, my appointments, my recovery program. Then the morning that I went back to work, I wasn't back there for an hour, and he's pulling up in front of the drug dealer's house. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, really? Oh, I won't do it in front of you. And I made a decision right then in that moment, because I knew every time I thought about work, it was causing me stress and anxiety. It was God letting me know that you can't be there. You have to make a plan. So I needed to make some money to get things rolling. So I tried, and I got to work, and I explained to him, and I can't be around, and can't be around me, and he just kept doing it. So I quit my job. And that was a big, leap of faith. That was a big test from me showing my higher power, God, that I was willing and trusting that He was going to provide for me and give me opportunities to step up if I was willing to shed everything that didn't serve me. And that was a job that wasn't serving me. Guys, today it's amazing to me how much better my life is. My business is expanding. I'm doing things legally. I own my truck. I rent a garage. I have insurance. I have everything I need, and it's getting better and better constantly. Never mind that I was living paycheck to paycheck, and I was tens of thousands of dollars in debt, and it would have taken me, I'd probably be a quarter of a way through my debt. Instead, I not only paid off that debt, but I've stacked tens of thousands of dollars in the bank, and I'm able to pay off other things and invest in property. Like, it is amazing to me how quickly my life is expanding in the most beautiful ways, because I just continue to take one step at a time, pick the most important thing, tackle that, and as soon as I get comfortable from that point, then I'd look into my life and say, okay, where else can I make a difference? Okay, where else can I? But I didn't try to do 18 different things at once, particularly early on when I was just trying to get to a point where I could trust my instincts again and know that I was going to make good decisions, and that's exactly what's happened because I've been intentional about it, and I've focused on these things, and because I've continued to do it day in and day out, it's gotten better and better. Now, I'm able to run my company, run my friend Doug's company, manage my YouTube channel, manage my TikTok channel, be a part of my my AA home group, go on speaking commitments. Like, my life has expanded in all these ways that I would have felt so overwhelmed by prior, but because I've done so one step at a time, as I've gotten clarity and as I've gotten comfortable with one thing, I've continued to step up and take the next action in an area, and I continue to do. I'm still not perfect. I'm still not where I want to be. So I'm continuing to step out in new and bigger areas all the time. But I don't try to do 18 things at once. I focus on the task at hand. And now I've gotten sharper and I've gotten clarity. Now I'm able to manage more things at once. But still, in the past, I'd be trying to fix this, talking to you, worrying about this. No, I still focus on my task at hand. And I tell people, listen, I can't guide you through this while I'm doing this. When I'm fixing something, a boiler, a pickup truck, or something else, I focus on the job that I'm doing, and I don't answer my phone, and I don't watch videos, and I don't. But as I'm doing other things, I'll play subliminals in the background or something like that because I've gotten clarity and I'm able to handle more. But it's been so incredibly easy because it's one step at a time, and because I've developed a relationship with my higher power, and I've fully surrendered, and I turn my will over to God on a multiple times a day basis. I continue to get better and better results because supernatural, miraculous things are happening in my life, and they started from within. Because that was where I needed. My first steps had to be working on me, healing myself from the things that brought me back to addiction, and not worrying about people, places, and things. I removed myself from those altogether, and I didn't allow myself to go into anywhere that was going to be dangerous for me. So I stayed home. The first month I barely left the house unless I was going to a doctor's appointment, dentist appointment, dermatologist appointment, AA meeting, the gym, grocery store. Like, literally, that was the extent to where I traveled, so that I could gain clarity and gain strength and gain confidence in myself before I started, engaging further with the world. And then I started doing more and more work and picking and choosing, and I've had to let a lot of customers go and a lot of people calling off from work. Because there were people, and don't get me started on the amount of drug dealers that would call me because they wanted to see if they're going to test you guys. That's life. But if you take the time to do one right thing at a time, and then take the next step, and then the next and the next, you start building momentum in the proper and the right side. And now I've got all this momentum behind me, and I got all this confidence and all this wisdom and all this, realize this. Physically, I'm stronger. I go to the gym. I put on 60 pounds. I feel good about who I am today, but it's all because I've taken that next right step, and I've done things one at a time, as I know. And guys, particularly when it's hard. In the past, I would never, I was so afraid of confrontation that I would continue living a lie, and I won't do that today because I understand. At the end of the day, my truth has to be my truth. I have to be my authentic, true self, or I can't continue to build from a place of fakeness. And it's gotten easier and easier, and the results have gotten better and better, and things just continue to progress along those lines. But guys, it starts with taking that first step. Right? First step is admitting you have a problem. Second step is putting down the drugs, getting into treatment, whatever you need. Guys, never be afraid to ask for help. Nobody can do everything on their own, and that's something I had to learn the hard way. I never wanted anybody's help because I never wanted anybody seeing the level of depravity and bullshit that I was living. And finally, this time around, because I surrendered to God, I was willing to open that door and let anybody see anything they wanted, because I'd stopped doing terrible things. And I'd still make mistakes, but I'd catch myself and rectify those as fast as humanly possible. Guys, you do the next right thing because it's the right thing to do, but you start to heal by tackling the biggest thing at first and then moving to the next, not worrying about, the magnitude of everything you need to do, because you'll get overwhelmed, you get stuck in stagnation. Analysis paralysis, or just fear of, not knowing what to do. Take one thing at a time, take your biggest problem, work on that. As you get better, work on the next one, and then so on and so forth. And before you know it, you'll have command and control of your life, and you'll be happier than you ever thought possible. Guys, that's the lesson for today. Thank you all so much for being here. Always remember, God loves you. I love you. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one.